What is the scariest thing you found out about someone from your childhood?
When I was about 6, my family and I were getting up around 4:30 in the morning to go up to Utah to visit family. Out of nowhere, my stepdad tells us, "Wait in the car," and goes to the neighbor's house. It's a duplex. I never really met the neighbors, but I remember my mom would get pissed if I went into their yard to climb this huge ass pine tree. Anyways, stepdad is gone for maybe 10 minutes when the police pull up and go inside as well. After like 30 minutes, they come out with my neighbor in cuffs, and my stepdad is thanking them. He whispered something to my mom and then told my brothers and I that the neighbors got caught stealing or something. And we were like 3 to 6, so we just accepted this. Found out when I was around 16, 17 that the neighbor was loudly beating his wife. My stepdad heard, went over. The wife was unconscious. So my stepdad, who I forgot to mention was a massive army dude who was super good at fighting, beat the bricks out the husband, held him down, and called the cops. It's one of my favorite stories to tell about him. Dude is badass. Yo, this is her stepdad, and the way she's speaking of him is so high that he must really be an incredible, great dude. And I love to hear that. I don't know if it was scary, but I grew up with a kid whose birthday was this day before mine. So we almost always shared birthdays in elementary school. We were friends, even spent the night at his house growing up. Later, in our teens, he started getting into some really dark stuff. I recognize that now as being a sociopath. But like most everybody else at the time, I figured it was just him going through some kind of emo phase. Over the years, we lost touch, but I would occasionally run into him around town, and our meetings were cordial, if not friendly. Last year, he was sentenced to 35 years in prison for killing a man back in 1993, roughly 3 years after we got out of high school. Apparently, he and his sister and another man lured this guy out of the boonies and ended him to steal money he had gotten in an insurance settlement. The only reason why they were caught is the other guy got religion, felt remorse, and went on the local TV station and aired the confession before turning himself in. He got 25 years to life. After thinking about it for some time, I can really say I'm not too surprised. So it's crazy how you can really grow up with someone and they become a psychopath.
Crazy, crazy stuff.
Elementary school, when I was 12 to 13, I had what seemed like a stalker write me a ton of creepy, vile emails. I say they seemed like a stalker as they would write in pain-stalking details. What I looked like at school, right down to degrading me for every new zit that popped up. These emails became more crude and threatening over time until one day my friends and I were talking to a group of boys 1 year younger than us. When telling those boys about the emails and how frightening they were, all the boys were shocked and very empathetic, except for one. He was slyly smirking, finding the whole thing apparently hilarious. My friends and I were like, "What the fuck? So is it you?" And he just kept smirking, Norma Bates style. And now the kid is this man. Talk about red flags. All right, guys, let's see what she posted. Peterborough's dangerous offender Thomas Stubbs dies in prison. Petersboro's dangerous offender Thomas Shrub died June 27th following illness while in custody at the Millhaven Institution Regional Treatment Center in Bath, east of Kingston. A Peterborough man who was declared dangerous offender in 2020 has died in federal prison. Thomas Straub died June 27th following an illness while in custody at Millhaven Institution Regional Treatment Center in Bath, east of Kingston, according to the Correctional Service Canada. Correctional Service Canada has made a mandatory notification about the death to the coroner. At the time of death, Straub had been serving an undetermined sentence for armed robbery, assault with a weapon, forcible confinement, and failure to comply with probation order, which began January 23, 2020, after Justice Robert Benger declared him dangerous offender in Ontario Court of Justice in Peterborough. Straub attacked a woman waiting for the bus on George Street in 2016. Straub dragged her into a nearby building before two men intervened. City police reported at the time. Straub lunged at one of the men with an 8-inch butcher knife, police said. Straub pled guilty in 2019 to 2 counts of robbery, assault with a weapon, forcible confinement, and breach of probation in this case. In his dangerous offender ruling, Benjinger wrote that Straub is unable to abstain from his violent conduct. His criminal record set out repeated violent offenses. I find that the respondent is a risk for sexual offending in the future. He has numerous convictions for offenses targeting women. In his ruling at this time, Benjamin sentenced Straub to 5 years in jail and long-term supervision order for 10 years. My grandfather was and still is a P and an R, with several dead women attached to him and a victim he impregnated at 65 who gave birth when she was 15. Oh my God. He stole a lot of identities, mine included, and was found with a whole bunch of cocaine and pew-pews. He went to prison at 65 for 60 years and was let out on compassionate release at 78. He's 82 and still kicking. My mother died of complications to her mental illness when he was first charged. I don't know if she knew it was coming out, but there was something hugely wrong with their relationship. She was always his favorite girl. I was never let alone with him as a child. My youth pastor, who was a close friend of my mother, is also a P and an R, and my mother thought he was such a good father figure for my brother, but he R'd him continuously from 9 to 15. He presided over my mother's funeral and cried. I've always been felt like he put some nails in her coffin. Wow. Someone responded and said, compassionate release? I know he's your grandfather, but I don't see how merited that kind of compassion after all he did. I was livid. I do not consider him my grandfather. He is my mother's R. My grandmother was a long divorced from him and gave him her house when he got out. She was in assisted living. She always acted like he was off at a country club, but she knew he was guilty and felt that personal business. I recently found pictures of him and his sons, her brothers, at my mother's funeral. And you would think he was at a wedding. He had a huge smile on his face. I'm not 100% on the timeline. He was arrested and she died in 97. Needs to be verified which came first. But I wonder if he relieved because the biggest potential witness against him was dead. She could admit all to herself, and the last calls she received were from her brothers, his goons. I just have a nagging feeling that they purposely sabotaged her mental state in hopes of discrediting her. It's too late for the matter, though. They all jumped on the bandwagon to blame my dad, and I was with him when she died. My grandmother would visit my dad and his new wife to see my younger brothers, and my dad would make her gourmet breakfast, and she would look at his wife and say, you know he killed my daughter, and go back to eating what she cooked. She said that anyone that would listen, and my dad carried her bullshit for 20 years plus and always had an open door for my grandmother. He knew it was the only way she could sleep at night, clinging to the belief that someone separate from her family damaged her mother so severely. Dad died in 2020, and my grandmother died miserable and alone in 2018. It kills me that my mother's R is still alive and my dad is gone. My dad deserved long life. That son of a bitch supposed to die in prison, and I'm glad I don't live close to him.
Because
He would be dead. Old school beliefs was what happens in the family stays in the family, and it's a sick thing because if something like this is happening in the family, it needs to come out. And these seem like old school people, but if they were in assisted living, then that means that she was older when she divorced him, so she knew that he was this scumbag. And he did what he did to that girl at 65. So he never stopped. He was always continuously hurting people. And that's the thing about situations like this. A lot of people don't come forward. They just don't want to be bothered. They just want to put what happened to them behind them. And it just lets scumbags like this get away. Now, with the mom, I doubt he was happy about her not being able to snitch on him anymore. States have a statute of limitations on this particular issue, and it's sad and it's pathetic, and I think that it needs to come up with the times, and it needs to change with that. Never ever ever expires. It should never expire. It should be the same case for ending someone's life, because to me, when this happens to someone, it can end their life, and not necessarily in them passing away, but just socially, physically, in every way possible, unable to work, unable to sleep, unable to go through the day without drinking or drugging. It can completely destroy a person. And a sicko like this, and I really believe this, I don't believe that they can ever change unless they have like something that does a snippet or a pivot. You know what I mean? And if that is not the case, then I don't believe that they will ever change, and that they are stuck in that way forever. And that they need to be held accountable before their next victim comes about. Because look at this mom. She never said what her dad did to her. And years later, a 15-year-old had to have a baby by this scumbag. So the OP went on to say, because someone commented back to her, Jesus Christ, the multiple injustice here. Exactly. Bless your father. He was the better person. I hate when those types of people don't get more time. And the OP goes on to respond, he was amazing, and he showed me what a father and a man should be. He suffered greatly in his last years. ALS robbed him of so much. He deserved to dance and socialize and cook and be with his family into the 90s. He also told me life is unfair, and I just didn't realize how unfair it really could be. And he's gone, and my mother's father is nearing 100, living his own life, still functioning, and evil as always. I assume I haven't spoke to him since 1997. Wow. I am so glad that out of all this income, out of all this negative that this baby girl was brought into, that she had an amazing dad. I love to hear that and show her what a true man is. And not only show her, it feels like because of him, she was also protected, because the mom obviously was on a downward spiral. She had mental illness, and I'm sure it had a lot of because she had to grow up with such a loser, some scumbag dad. But the OP had came out. Honestly, I don't even know the girl, but from reading her stuff, she's an amazing girl to have to come out of that and still could see the goodness in another man. Because growing up like that, it's hard to not see men as all like that. The preacher, the father, her brother, all that happening. What it boils down to is her father was a great man, and she could still see that. And I appreciate that. And I'm gone. I'm sad he's gone, but I'm sure he went to a way better place. And I'm also glad that she is not like her mother, and she had the brains to leave and not speak to her grandfather in so many years, almost 30 to be exact. So pretty dope, pretty dope. I'm proud of her. Go ahead, girl, do your thing. You are a true survivor, and I'm sorry that that happened to your mom, your father, and I'm sorry that you were born into such a evil family. But in the end of the day, you were raised by a great father, and you were protected. So bless you. All right, guys, after reading that, I think that's going to end our session for today. I appreciate you guys so much. If you are interested in these posts, please, please, I encourage you to go on Reddit and read for yourself. If not, I will be back again with more to read for you. Y'all have a good, blessed day.